the little light saying I was on. All right, good evening and welcome to the May 26, 2020 City Council meeting. Thank you for joining us in this remote meeting format we're using in response to Governor Brown's Stay Home, Save Lives order. The format enables City Council to meet, hear from the community, and take care of business while keeping its members, staff, and the public safe. Following our first couple of items tonight, there will be a public forum followed by 4 action items. There are several housekeeping announcements and instructions related to the meeting format that I need to take care of first. Thank you for your patience while we work our way through these. Anyone wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by following the access instructions listed for this meeting on the Public Webcasts and Meeting Materials webpage. For those who join the meeting via computer, device, or phone, your microphone, webcam, and phone are automatically muted when you enter the meeting as an attendee. If you wish to participate during the public forum portion of the meeting and haven't already done so, please raise your virtual hand now to join the speaker's queue in one of 2 ways. For those viewing the meeting on a computer, laptop, or other device, click once on the blue hand icon. For those listening to the meeting on the phone, press *9. We will continue accepting raised hands until 7:35. The meeting moderator will unraise or disallow any requests to speak that are made after the deadline. When the public forum begins, our meeting moderator will announce the next 2 speakers at a time. When it is your turn, the moderator will announce your name and unmute your microphone. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Finally, I want to thank everyone for your patience, flexibility, and good humor as we work within this virtual format. As always, feel free to contact any one of us individually or together via email or voicemail if there is testimony you were not able to provide or wish to get to us in a different manner. And now this is one of the council days when we begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. We open in honor of Memorial Day, which was yesterday, May 25th. And I have an excerpt, a short excerpt from a recent presidential proclamation. With courage and a love of country that knows no limits, America's men and women in uniform exemplify patriotism at its core, stepping into harm's way to protect our people and to safeguard the ideals that have long sustained our democracy. Those who serve under the Stars and Stripes embody the highest form of citizenship. And on Memorial Day, we pay solemn tribute to those brave Americans who laid down their lives to defend our freedom. Those who gave their last full measure of devotion for the values that bind us as one people deserve our utmost respect and gratitude. In recognizing those who made the ultimate sacrifice, we pledge to never stop working to fulfill our obligations to all members of our armed forces so they know we stand beside them every step of the way, not just when we need them, but also when they need us. Today and every day, let us remember the servicemen and women we have lost, and let us honor them by rededicating ourselves to strengthening our nation's promise. With love, grace, and reflection, let us honor our fallen fellow Americans, known and unknown, who sacrificed their freedom to ensure our own. And I'm just going to add to those moving words that we had an especially wonderful tribute yesterday by our Oregon National Guard, and honoring both our fallen heroes, our servicemen and women, but also our civilian heroes at this time when we faced the pandemic. And as they did that flyover, their statement for that flyover, the flyovers are intended to salute Oregonians on the forefront of the COVID-19 pandemic, lift community morale during a time of severe health and economic impacts, and remember those brave service members who have paid the ultimate price for our freedom. With that, I would like to lead you all in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And it's a little awkward in this format to stand and still be on camera, so we will stand as we can. I'm going to try and stand, but I don't think I can be seen on the screen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you all. And now our first item of business is our committee reports and items of interest. Does anyone have something they want to share this meeting? Yes, Councilor Semple and City Manager.
Hi, thank you, Mayor. It's nothing new, but it's worth reiterating. I'm still concerned about the very low number of tests for COVID-19 that are being done in Lane County. And as we're coming out and seeing our friends again, there's a lot of up close and personal. I'd really like to see us adequately testing. I'm also so concerned, and I hear we're talking about it tomorrow, but the exit strategy into phase 2 or whatever, where we're going to open up, I don't know what we're opening or we're closing, but things will change for campers. And things are already stressful for neighborhoods. So I'm hoping that we will have a lot of time and energy and thought into how we're going to gracefully make this segue. So thank you.
Thank you. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I mostly just wanted to share that I'm starting to send out invitations to the Citizens Advisory Board that is part of the payroll tax implementation. And even though we haven't started collecting that, we are doing bridge loans and we are doing the work related with that. And so I think it's important to get that group established. I wasn't going to list the group yet because some of them probably haven't read their email and they might be on here. So, but I just wanted to let you know that that's happened. And the way I think it was worded was it was to document that our use of the payroll tax revenue and review was spent in compliance with the purpose and use set forth. And they are also to prepare an annual report detailing the results of their review. And I'll be issuing that report to you, but you may hear from people. So we're looking at about 8 to 10 people. And it's a good, if everyone says yes, and I hope they will, it's a really great diverse group with some new voices and some people that have also participated in the revenue committee.
Great, thank you. Anybody else that I'm missing? All right, okay, with that, thank you. We're ready to move on to the consent calendar. Can I have a motion?
Where am I? I move to approve the consent calendar. Out loud that time.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand, real hand or virtual hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you very much. That passes. And now we're ready to move on to the public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Council on any city-related issues except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official or are on tonight's agenda as a public hearing. Each person will have 2 minutes to speak. When it is your turn and your microphone has been unmuted, please state your name clearly and for Eugene residents, your ward if known, before beginning your comments. If you are watching the meeting, the timer should be visible. A yellow light will come on when you have 15 seconds to complete your comments. The red light and beep indicate the end of 2 minutes. When your time has concluded, the moderator will mute your microphone and move on to the next speaker. For those who have connected to the meeting via phone and don't have the benefit of seeing the timer, please be aware that your microphone will be muted at the 2-minute mark. Also, well, I don't know that we need a time limit. Jessica, do we have a sense of how many people have signed up?
We have 9 folks signed up, Mayor.
All right, so the time limit is not an issue. And so we will begin with the first, I'll let you introduce the first speakers.
Very good. We have 9 signed up. The first speaker will be Lynn Woodrich, followed by Vaughn Edmonds. Lynn, you're good to go.
My name is Lynn Woodrich. I'm the Active Bethel Citizens Co-Chair and representative for the Neighborhood Leaders Council. I live in Ward 6 and own a home in the Bethel portion of Ward 8. The Active Bethel Citizens Zoom April 25th general meeting, Building a Better Bethel, with Mayor Vinnis, City Councilors Evans, Syret, and Pryor, Commissioner Farr, State Senator Manning, and State Representative Fahey, was successful because we were able to get the word out by sending a mailer to our 12,000 households and put up the meeting signs, all using the HNRI outreach allocation funds. This was our first step to begin the work for the April 22 motion you passed 7-1 to direct the city manager to develop a comprehensive planning implementation and funding strategy to achieve community and economic prosperity in Bethel. The first strategy is continued neighborhood engagement and capacity building. Our Bethel neighborhood has a large Latinx population. We need to start sending out our mailings as bilingual to make sure we can engage all of the residents in our neighborhood planning. This effort will require additional outreach funds for translation services and mailing questionnaires. ABC is beginning to form the Bethel Business Alliance tomorrow to help businesses after the shutdown due to the COVID-19. The outreach funds will allow us to create a mailing questionnaire that can identify their needs. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, many of our neighbors are suffering from the loss of employment and income and to threats to their health and access to housing. Neighborhood associations have the expertise and trust necessary to provide immediate assistance to neighbors and/or help them connect with the appropriate social service agencies, particularly to vulnerable residents who may not have access to the internet, where mailings are the only way to get information they need. Please secure existing funds for outreach and matching grants for neighborhood associations with the upcoming FY21 budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Vaughn Edmonds, followed by Amy Cubbage. Vaughn Edmonds, you are ready to speak. Having a little bit of difficulty. Hold on just one moment, please. Vaughn, are you on the line?
I am. This is Bill, Mayor Vinnis, City Councilors. My name is Bill Edmonds, Northwest Natural's Director of Environmental Management and Sustainability. It's been about a year since we formally presented to Council, and we wanted to provide updates. Northwest Natural is committed to pursuing a carbon neutral pipeline by 2050. This is not business as usual. We embrace the change that's needed. There will be challenges ahead, but we see no technical barrier to achieving our vision. Since our last presentation, we've reached several important milestones. In September, we stood with Governor Brown for the signing of SB 98, allowing us to take waste from food, animals, and wastewater that would otherwise result in emissions and turn it into renewable natural gas. Rulemaking will be completed by July, and with several projects underway, we expect to begin procuring renewable natural gas for customers this year. Last fall, we sent a team abroad to learn about rapidly occurring innovations in renewable natural gas and renewable hydrogen. Meeting with government entities, utilities, private companies, we were able to see results that can be now replicated in our backyard. Scientific American published a recent article on Europe's progress on renewable hydrogen, and I will submit it to the record for your review. Our energy efficiency work is ongoing, and market tests continue for gas heat pump technology. In January, thanks to approval from the Oregon Public Utilities Commission, we are adding $1.7 million in energy efficiency funds dedicated to low-income customers, a 50% increase. As progress continues on decarbonization, with nearly a third of our customers being low income, we remain focused on providing affordable energy. During these especially challenging times of COVID-19, we are helping our customers with bill payment assistance options, and we will not disconnect customers who can't make a payment due to the impacts caused by the coronavirus. Those are some highlights. We're happy to answer questions at any time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Amy Cubbage, followed by Elizabeth Deffenbaugh. Go ahead, Amy.
Hello, Council, Mayor Venice. Can you hear me okay? Good?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Amy Cubbage, and I live in Springfield, but I work for Cornerstone Community Housing in Eugene. I'm here tonight to share support on behalf of Cornerstone for the ordinance to extend the low-income housing or low-income rental housing property tax exemption program, which we like to call LRPD for short. Over 300 households in Cornerstone's apartment benefit from this program. This program is extremely important. It directly benefits low-income renters and helps our community in two primary ways. First, preserving quality, affordable rental housing. And second, creating new affordable rental housing units. LRPD provides a valuable incentive that can be leveraged to successfully compete for additional state and federal dollars for affordable housing development in Eugene. Affordable housing properties operate on small margins due to their low rents. LRPD is needed to ensure that these low affordable rents can be maintained and that the properties have sufficient funding for their mortgage payments, property management staffing, and long-term maintenance needs. Now, more than ever, with rents continuing to increase and household incomes constrained, this program is needed to ensure that every individual and family can have a stable and affordable place to call home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next caller is Elizabeth Deffenbaugh, followed by Penny Royale. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Deffenbaugh. I am an unhoused Eugene resident, and we met with you before, Lucy, out at our camp at Amazon, and I have a few questions for you because we got word that you are shutting down our camps on June 5th, so that would leave us with nowhere to go, no safe spots for sleeping. And I don't know if you remember our discussion about how if you send us out back on the street, there's going to be police harassment and assault upon all these people just for sleeping. So we also got word that you don't have any places in mind for us to go. So we're very concerned as a community that all of your talk is just BS. So we would like some answers on that.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Penny Royale, followed by a phone-in caller. Go ahead, Penny.
Hi, I would like to speak in support of Elizabeth and the Amazon camps, and also the hundreds of people who are currently in the exact same situation as Elizabeth, as the county closes its COVID shelters and y'all close the camps that you have made. Before I get into numbers, I just want to speak to the specific kind of non-trauma informed behavior this is, what it means to shelter people and to give them stability and a sense of ability to get on their feet, and then to quickly take that away from them and put them back onto the streets where they will experience harassment and violence again. And I think that that should be taken really seriously, and I hope that you find a safe and secure camp for Elizabeth and all of the folks at the Amazon camp, some of whom are physically disabled, to be in a permanent way until they can find safety on their own. I also want to say that there are 4,000 houseless humans in Lane County. Normally, the city and the county shelter 0 of them. During COVID, the county sheltered 200 of them for only 2 months, and the city sheltered less than 40 people in sanctioned campgrounds for 2 months, which they then closed. And the city and the county got a lot of back-patting press for this, even though it was a tiny drop in a very large bucket. And now there are no available shelter options for houseless people, and the pandemic is not over. So basically, social workers all over the town are saying to people, there's nowhere for you to go. And if the city continues to fund big projects like City Hall and the police, which cause chaos in the life of the unhoused, there will be no options, and we will continue to be in this situation, and the social workers and the poor people and the unhoused people in this town will suffer the trauma of those decisions every day of their lives. So please change those decisions, and we need 4,000 shelter beds, and the sweeps need to stop while there is not enough shelter beds for people to be safe.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is on the phone, followed by Chelsea Swift. Go ahead, speaker with phone number ending in 327.
Hi, this is William Smith, also known as Rowan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. Well, I'm just following up on the wireless issue that I've spoken to council before quarantine. And just as quarantine was happening, I did send emails, or I was in touch by email with the Public Works Director and the knowledge of the city manager and support. I feel that I've gotten a good reception, at least before the quarantine happened. Hopefully, when the quarantine lifts, maybe sooner, I'd like to follow up and see how I might help move this issue along. Meanwhile, I'd like to use the rest of my time here to just add two important highlights. One is that a big case was won against the FCC on mid-March, exposing $500 billion of fraud by the telecoms, diverting money that landline owners were paying towards 5G. Now that money should be available to states, including Oregon, to build out fiber optic networks, low cost and safe. That's really good news. And I guess the other thing is that I've heard concerning news about Congress passing a law to expedite wireless installations during the crisis. And I do hope City Council will be vigilant and make sure that if that goes forward, that environmental reviews be conducted as required by law. And that was upheld by a federal court that in fact environmental reviews are required despite some contrary information that has been spread around. So that's all for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Chelsea Swift, followed by our final speaker, Jessica Worley. Go ahead, Chelsea.
Thank you. This is Chelsea Swift. I'm an essential healthcare worker, first responder in this community during a pandemic. I'm a resident of Ward 1, and thanks for having me again. Thank you, Penny, for sharing the numbers. We will be coming out of this pandemic with over 100 less shelter beds than we usually have. We usually have about 100, or I'm sorry, we usually have about 500 but because the mission and Dusk Till Dawn have stopped taking new clients during shelter in place for safety reasons that are good, we will not have those options in the same way. Dusk Till Dawn has a capacity of about 125, but that's going to be the only public funded shelter option for adults that will be taking new people, and their capacity is almost always full. We also do not have a sobering center right now because Buckley Detox has closed. Their staff only make $13 an hour, who generally fill the gap of people who are unsafe in public that police and the entire county refer people to are closed due to safety. All those people are going to hospital. The Crisis Respite Center, funded by the County Hourglass, currently does not see people overnight. They stop taking people at 11 p.m. Those people in mental health crises are going to the hospital. The hospital is where people are going to get treated for COVID. If they're not going to the hospital, they're going to jail, where inmates have filed complaints for unsafe conditions. And COVID is where we have the largest outbreak of COVID. Sorry, jail is where the state penitentiary is where we have the largest COVID-19 outbreak in Oregon. So I just want to share, like, my perspective is that by creating these temporary programs that have been insufficient in capacity and ending them, it has validated this idea that, like, we spend too much money when we have these shelters, and that people who are not in them must be kind of that group of unhoused people who don't want to engage in service. Like, if there are 30 people camping alongside West 13th, they must not want to go into the fairgrounds. They must not want to follow those rules. But those neighbors possibly don't know that the capacity at fairgrounds is only 150, and that despite the point in time counts numbers that, like, current centralized social service databases are showing, that we have more of a population of 4,000 people experiencing homelessness. So I just want to consider, like, those very practical ways we can re-message, because I understand why neighbors are upset by the burden of the camps that are popping up in their neighborhoods. They are very hard to look at, but these neighbors are also under the impression that options exist that don't. So thank you for your time again.
Thank you.
And our final speaker is Jessica Worley.
Hi, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Excellent. All right. So my name is Jessica. I am a resident of Ward 1. I am also an essential worker. So I often walk the Amazon bike path between Polk and Chambers on my way to the grocery, where there is the presence of houseless camps or several camps in the vacant areas of grass before the bridge crossing 18th and along the bike path. I would actually like to say that it's been very pleasant to see unhoused individuals able to settle in place and to gain some peace of mind and shelter, as the stress of that constant moving really increases their risk of immunocompromisation, and it puts our entire community more at risk to have them constantly in motion. It's been very peaceful to interact with those camps, and it has not, for me, been an eyesore. It's more of a community like any other. On my way to work as well, out on Highway 99, I frequently passed the camp that was at the intersection of West 5th and West 7th by the Dairy Mart, where 5th and 7th turn into Highway 99. I would often bring some supplies that were extra from our work to that camp after I was finished. And, you know, what I saw was a peaceful, ultimately sustainable community there, if not at times problematic, just like any other. But I would really like to encourage the extension of this emergency congregate shelter past this current deadline of June 5th. I do think that it's in the best interest of our entire community. That's not to say that it has been adequate, and there are over 4,000, you know, but I understand the city is doing what they can, but I think it's urgent that we extend that deadline and allow people to shelter in place where they're at. Do not force them to move. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Councillor Evans raising his hand to speak. Councillor Evans, go ahead.
Yeah, this question is for staff. Do we have a coordinated transition plan? And what I mean by coordinated is with the county to move these individuals in temporary camps into some other kind of facility, or we don't have a plan. So can you speak to that?
Sure thing. Thank you, Councillor Evans. This is actually going to be the topic of your work session tomorrow at noon. We moved the town square discussion because I anticipated that we would need to have some conversations with you about where we are and where we're heading. So we do have some plans, and this is one of those cases where there's a lot of rumors going around and people are getting different information. I don't believe we have given anybody notice yet, although there is going to be a sort of a beginning and an end to the emergency response. That does not mean that that's the end to our services, and that's what we want to talk to you about tomorrow.
Okay, Councilor Syret.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone who gave us public comment, gave us important things to think about. I will just share, City Manager, I was on a call with some folks who were paying attention to these issues, and they said they heard at the Poverty and Homelessness Board meeting that we were closing our emergency shelters on June 6th. So that was
yeah. I can jump in on that. I do believe the county is planning to close the fairgrounds on the minute we're even moving to phase 2. So I believe that is June 5th or 6th, and that was tied to what they was tied to the FEMA reimbursement. And I think Chief Heppel can talk about this more tomorrow. I was mostly referring to our designated temporary shelter sites, though I will say, Lynn's not on the call here. You know, when we chose Amazon and Peterson Barn, and we did it sort of, you know, as you all know, Councilor Evans and Councilor Taylor got calls several days ahead of me, and the neighborhood leaders got calls day of. We were in emergency response, and we committed to them. And what we told them at the time is, this is an emergency measure. These aren't forever here in this place. We're going to have to open our community centers. We have camps coming up. So I think the conversation tomorrow is really to talk about, how do we get between the space we're in now and our next place? Because we are going to be in a transition place. We don't have the navigation center yet, and we can't keep these open in these locations, but there may be some other options that you want to talk about. So
yeah, so you confirmed my suspicion. What I said that sounds like maybe the county has made that date decision, and I didn't know that we had set a date. Thanks.
Any other comments? I will just, I would thank you, Elizabeth, for coming. We did meet at the Amazon Center. I do feel strongly supportive of the concept of the temporary shelter sites. We know they're helpful. We know they're a good way for people to land. We have rest stops that use that same model. And we know it's successful, and this council has committed to having more of those rest stops, and we continue to struggle to find the right locations for those. But this is a top priority for us as a governing body to find solutions, and we are not wanting to increase suffering in our community. We're wanting to alleviate suffering and help people stabilize. So thank you for coming, and thank you for keeping that conversation going with us. It is top of mind for all of us. So, and we will have a meeting on it tomorrow. So there will be more news, information to be shared at that time. Okay, thank you all. If there are no other comments, we can now move on to our first item of business, resolution authorizing financing of projects described in the Riverfront Urban Renewal District Plan. Can we put a motion on the table?
I move to adopt a resolution authorizing financing of projects described in the Riverfront Urban Renewal District Plan.
Second. Any discussion, questions? All right, seeing none, are we ready for a vote? All in favor, please raise your real hand or your virtual hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 opposed. 1, 2. Okay, that passes. Thank you very much. All right, the next item.
I move.
Oh, why don't I read it first?
Okay, good idea.
Ordinance concerning multiple unit property tax exemptions and amending sections 2.946 and 2.947 of the Eugene Code 1971. Ordinance to incorporate state updates to MUPT's green building and construction deadline provisions.
Now, I move to adopt an ordinance concerning multiple unit property tax exemptions and amending sections 2.946 and 2.947 of the Eugene Code 1971.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you. That passes. That's great. All right, the third action. Ordinance concerning low-income rental housing property tax exemptions and amending sections 2.938, 2.939, and 2.940 of the Eugene Code 1971, and resolution adopting amended standards and guidelines for processing applications for low-income rental housing property tax exemptions and repealing resolution number 5028.
I move to adopt an ordinance concerning low-income rental housing property tax exemptions and amending sections 2.938, 2.939, and 2.940 of the Eugene Code 1971.
Second.
Any questions, discussion?
Lurpty, 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 lurpty.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hands.
Lurpty, lurpty.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that passes. Great. Okay. Our final item is a resolution, and I'm wondering if Jennifer and Greg want to just.
Mayor, there's a resolution also that you need to.
Oh, did I skip something? Oh, I'm sorry. If adopted. Thank you. Okay, next round. Emily?
I move to adopt the resolution adopting amended standards and guidelines for processing applications for low-income rental housing property tax exemptions and repealing resolution number 5028.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you. That passes. Thank you. And now our final item of business is a resolution that's been brought to us by both Councilor Evans and Councilor Ye, and I'm going to let them speak to it for a moment. So, Councilor Ye, do you want to begin?
Sure. Yeah, I want to thank Councilor Evans first for bringing this issue to council and for working with me and others collaboratively to craft the best message that we can. With this, we're joining a lot of other cities who have passed similar resolutions that both denounce COVID-19 related prejudice, but also celebrate the diversity of our communities. And some people in our city and across our nation think that COVID-19 is somehow inherent to people of Asian descent. But we know pandemics have happened throughout our history. This is not the first one, nor will it be the last. And viruses do not care about ethnicity. People of Asian descent in our community are residents, students, and visitors, and they all deserve to feel safe while they're here. This resolution makes it clear that the Eugene City Council is not ignorant of the bigotry that they face. We are also taking it a step further and asking the community to join us in recognizing and speaking out against it. And additionally, this resolution highlights our commitment to our COVID-19 response and recovery will reflect our triple bottom line values that consider social equity in planning and decision making. And equity considerations will not be an afterthought, but will be part of our ongoing conversation. And this resolution, I hope, incorporates all these related issues, and ties our values to our actions in meaningful ways.
Thank you. Councilor Evans, do you want to speak to it as well?
I couldn't have said it better, Mayor.
All right,
let's get to it.
All right, Councilor Clark, do you want to make a comment?
I do. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you both to Councilor Ye and to Councilor Evans for this work. I'll be voting in favor of this because I agree entirely. I want to say, while that's true, I think it's entirely okay to say that one can be critical of the Chinese government nationally. One can be critical of their policies. one can be critical of their decisions and how they behave as a government and as a nation, while entirely being able to separate and say people of Chinese descent and Asian Americans in our country deserve the respect and the treatment that anybody else would be entitled to, and that there are many instances, friends of mine too, of people who've been dealt with bigotry and nonsense and violence in the way they're spoken to, and it's absolutely wrong. And those two issues are very separate, and I hope people understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Zelenka, you want to speak to this?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to thank Councilor Ye and Evans for bringing this forward. This is a much better version. I think it says actually quite a bit. And it's also very important for the council to stand up and say this type of behavior, this type of bigotry, this type of discrimination is just not appropriate and not going to be tolerated in our town. And I think that's what this resolution does. So thank you both for bringing this forward. Well done.
Thank you. Councilor Syret.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I want to echo Alan's comments. Exactly would be mine. Thank you very much. I think my only regret is that we didn't do this a month ago. So bringing it forward, and it is really important that we make this statement. And I really like the particulars in the resolution, that it actually directs people to our Human Rights Division, and provides direction as well as making a value statement. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Pryor.
Yeah, most people probably remember that the 1918 flu was dubbed the Spanish flu, even though it didn't originate in Spain. In fact, the forensic evidence indicates it originated in Kansas, but they still called it the Spanish flu. And I think to exploit a health crisis as a way to promote racism and xenophobia is not something we want to support. So I think this is a way that this resolution can say, we stand behind all people, all ethnicities, and all races, regardless of their origin.
Thank you all. I also appreciate both councilors for bringing this forward and honing this, and so that it really has some meat to it and says what we need to say about support all of the communities within our community at this time. So if there are no other comments, we're ready for a vote. I'm not sure we put this on we haven't put the motion on the table yet. You want to?
It says a resolution declaring May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. Is that still the title, since it's so much bigger than that?
No, there is an updated agenda that was sent out that has the updated resolution. If you have, Councilor Semple, the updated resolution in front of you, you can move to adopt and then read that title. Or
it's on the other computer and I don't have a printout. So if you read it, have somebody else say, I so move.
Well, I think it would be nice if you could read, if they read the full title, because it's not what was in the original. So I'll read it, unless Councilor Ye or Councilor Evans.
Jennifer, Councilor Ye should be doing this anyway.
Yeah, read the whole thing.
Okay. So I move to adopt a resolution opposing all forms of anti-Asian sentiment as related to COVID-19 and declaring May as Asian and Pacific Islander American Heritage Month.
Second.
5 more days of May. Got it under the wire.
There you go. All in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you very much. Important statement, and thank you very much for that good work. And with that, we are adjourned. So have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks.